Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to continue our series on building a page builder with Vue and Vite, and of course we're going to use Tailwind. So if you missed the last episode where we kind of bootstrap the project and stuff, you can watch it in the I put the link in the description below. But yeah, so the last time we stopped, we kind of have this JSON structure. So let me open that back for you. Okay, make it go here, and maybe I can probably increase the size a little bit. Let's try 16. I think that's better. All right. Okay, so the last time we stopped at, like we have nested components, but our page builder can only read like two levels of components. So if you put more children so if you put grandchildren, it will not be able to read it. So this block is kind of like the first level. So we have the root, which doesn't count. Okay, and then we have the first level children here, and then the child here has one child in it, right? So this is the child, right? So if you put another child in here, it's not gonna render right now. So what we have to do to solve that problem is that we have to resort to nested components. So it has to be able to read nested JSON structure for this to work. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do just that. So it's gonna be a bit more focused rather than the last time where we kind of like did everything in like the whole 1 hour. So this one is gonna be shorter and more focused. Okay, so let's get started. So first things first, what is a bit of background on recursive function. So recursive function is a function that calls itself. So what's gonna happen is that, so you have a function, you call that function, and then that function inside it will have like an exit clause to make sure that it doesn't continuously call itself and cause the program to crash. So that exit clause is important. And then there's also a condition where it will basically just continuously call itself. So it is not something that you always use. So sometimes maybe like 80% of the applications that you write probably don't have to use recursive functions. But then in this case, it's particularly useful because this is going to be the dynamic JSON structure. So right now we are hard coding the structure right now, but of course it's a page builder, so we would like to let other people to continuously add more stuff and like build a very complex page structure. So it has to be nested and it's going to be dynamic. So we cannot limit our app to only read a certain level of nested components, right? So we are going to employ recursive functions here, continuously traverse the tree until it found so in this case the exit clause would be if the component has no children declared, so it's going to stop. So that is going to be our exit clause, and that exit clause is important because we don't want to break our app. But basically that's it. So if we look at our component right now, so if we want to try to imagine kind of like how it would be if it's like a function, so this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to write a comment here. So our function is kind of like maybe just say render component, right? And we're going to pass the type, the props, and also the children. And what is it going to do is it's going to see if there are children in here. So let's say just say array is array children and children.length bigger than 0, right? So it means that this particular component right now that is trying to render has children. So this is when the recursive stuff happens. You know what, I'm just gonna not comment it right now. Okay, so this is when it's going to call itself. It's going to fetch the children. So we'll just call it state. So this state.children, it will call that state children.type, and then state children.props, and then it's gonna call state children. So it's gonna get the children of that children. Okay. Right. Yeah. I forgot to actually do something very important. So this has to be a map. So it's gonna be something like this. So child. Okay, so this is going to call itself. So this child here will be state children. Child. This is just a pseudocode. I mean, it's not going to be the final code. I mean, we're dealing with components. I'm just trying to imagine it here. Okay, so this is going to be child.type. It's going to be child.props, and then this is going to be the same thing. Okay. Right. So and then we're done with that, and then we also have to kind of cater the current children, right? So the current children, we just written, just do whatever we need to render this. So type props, so just say component, for example. It doesn't matter, it's not gonna be, it's just a pseudocode, sorry about that. Right, so here, children. Okay, so this is kind of like, if we are writing the recursive function, this is going to be like what is it going to look like? But of course we have to translate this into like a view syntax, right? So imagine this render component to be our template tag, our component. Okay, so yeah, so let's get started. So of course the way we use this is we are going to call render component with the root of the whole thing. So the root component. So of course we're gonna pass the root props and also the root children here. Right, so once we call this, it's gonna go here, and then it's going to check if root has children. Of course it has, it's the only thing that it has. And then it's going to call render component on this children. So it's gonna take this. Now the function is going to check for this children, and it's going to take this, and then this function is going to take this children, and now it's gonna check if there's more children. It doesn't have, so it's gonna stop calling itself. Okay, so that's kind of like how it's gonna happen. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna leave that. Before that, I would like to, I didn't actually commit the last updates that we have, so I'm gonna commit it now. So just say initial commit. It's not really initial, but it's okay. Right, okay, so what should we do first? Okay, so we're gonna go to the place that call page builder.view. So that's gonna be the app.view, I think. So we're gonna go to app.view. So this is the part where it's calling page builder, right? So as you can see, this is kind of like a parallel to this. So this has to be called with the first element. So we're gonna call it type. So type will be root, and then the children would be root.children. We're gonna get this later. We're gonna add this in the script. down below. And we don't really need props here, but yeah, because like roots usually doesn't have anything. That might change. I don't know, like how is maybe the root can have like margin and stuff, right? So it's like the outermost container of things. Yeah, so I think let's just do that. So let's just do props root.children, sorry, root.props. So but yeah, the type is going to be hard-coded to root. Okay, so we're gonna have to get this root thing here. So we're just gonna call it setup and just gonna return root, and I think we already have the root code here, so we're just gonna get state. The path is going to be this a bit different here. I think it's index.tx, is it? Oh wait, store.index.tx. I think I don't have to put that. So by default, if you just leave it like this, it's going to default to index.js or index.ts. Okay, so now we can call state.value. And then give root to it. I think just use this, okay. And yeah, so we have this part wired, and now we have to take a look at inside this page builder. So now page builder should be accepting 3 different kinds of props, which is type. It's gonna be type string, and then props will be of type object, and children and will be of type array. Okay, so then we have to adjust this part. So now what's it gonna do is it's gonna render the first component. So this is, we're gonna tackle this part first. So component, we're gonna call type. We have the type prop. Then we have children. So sorry, we don't need children actually. We just need to bind the props. Okay, so this, sorry, this is not type. This is. Right, and then we're gonna call. So this part is settled. This, we have this already. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to get this thing. So we want to loop the array, and we're gonna also use the children props and type to continuously render the whole thing. So this is the part where it has to be calling itself. So this has to call page builder, and we're gonna loop, and this is gonna be child ID and children. Right, so because children is a prop, is an array of string. Okay, it's a prop. So we're gonna have to get the child of this. Okay, so then we can do enter a new line and just gonna give all this to the page builder. So this is going to be so we have the state here. We don't need root anymore because we already did root at the root level. Okay, so we need the state, and then we definitely we need the components mapping. So so what's gonna happen is we're gonna have child ID. We're gonna have the state child ID, right? So if we refer back to this structure, this is the whole state, right? And then we're passing the child ID, which is going to be like, for example, like if it's trying to render root, and this part is trying to render children of, like, the first one is going to be the block 2, and then we call state block 2 will get this part. right? Okay, so type will be state child ID, and then we call type, and then we're gonna do props and state child ID props, and then we're gonna call children state child ID dot children. Right, so I don't really like that this kind of repetition, but we're gonna handle that later once we verify that this is actually working right now. Right, so we don't need this part anymore. I think this part is not needed. Okay, so we have this, and definitely we want to give like the key for this. Okay, so key would be the ID. So we need to pass the ID as well. So the ID will be just the child ID. So this has to be added as a props here. ID string, and then in app.view we haven't called that before. So okay, so we're gonna give it ID root element. So this can just be a string because like this is the first one, so it doesn't have like a randomly generated ID. Okay, so let me fix this while I'm here so that it doesn't give me those red squiggly lines. Okay, so right, so this is called, and I think at this point Vue doesn't know that there's a page builder component registered, so we have to declare a name here, I think. So this will be a page builder. I'm not sure if this works in Vue 3 though. I think so. I think so. Define component. Let's look at the type. Extends. Oh my god, this is really complicated. So what does define component accepts again? Yeah. Okay, props options. I think this is it. No implementation found. Yeah, it should be there. Let's just try it. Okay. Okay, so let's look at our app. Does it render? No. Okay, of course it's not. That's never gonna happen. Like in one app, in one edit. So okay, so let's debug this, I guess. Okay, so it's rendering root. Why is it rendering root? Ah, right, so it doesn't know how to handle root stuff. So root is actually just a block component. You know, it's so just to remind you again, so block component, why can't I open it? So it's just a div with a slot to render the children. Okay, so we can use the same thing for block for root. It's basically just a block component. Okay, so I'm gonna save this, and it should change something. Okay, it doesn't. I have no idea why. So component is, oh right, so I should call the components mapping and then give type. Yep, sorry, my bad. Okay, so we have an error. Cannot read property length of undefined. Cannot read property length of undefined. Where did we call length? Block component? Right. Okay. Okay. So because our root doesn't actually have margin bottom, So that's why it's doing that. So let's go to block component again. So this actually, this is not good. I mean, we're not supposed to be doing like string concatenation like this, because Tailwind relies on purge CSS, and purge CSS needs the full string to be there to be able to detect. So in this case, it will not detect that we are actually using MB dash class. Yeah, so this is not gonna be good for the final edition, but right now it works because we are on the development environment. And everything is included, but when we do the production bundle, this is not going to work. But we're going to fix that later in probably in the next episode. Right, so we don't want this. We want this to be, let's just initialize this. So we're going to do type string. We're just going to initialize the default value. Was it default or default value? I forgot. So view props. View 3 props. Default. Oh, it's actually default. Okay, so default is empty string. So now it will check if there's a length of bigger than 0. Then it will do this. If not, it will just do an empty string. Okay, so hopefully the error will go away. And now we have this, and it's being rendered just fine. And what we want to check is we want to have a more nested structure of JSON. So now we have this block 2. We're gonna give it another child of block 3, and then we're gonna add this block 3 children here, and just we're gonna say, oh sorry, we should use object here. So we're going to create a text component ID 4, and this is going to be margin bottom 16 just to see the difference. And we're going to introduce text component ID 4 now. So let's go here. This is going to be 4, and this is text num. Why is text component ID 3 has a text 4? I don't remember that. So text 1 2. Yeah, it's probably something like a typo from the last stream. So we're gonna change this to something else. So we have used blue, red, and green. I think there's a yellow. So right, so now we should be able to handle infinitely nested JSON structure, which is going to be important when we want to do the real page builder. Okay, so let's see, and we have it. Nice. Right, so we have this, and yeah, so it has the correct margin bottom. So this one also has the correct margin bottom. And let's try, so that is handled. So we can now render like infinitely nested child. I also want to test something else, that we were using block component for the root element. So by right, it should also be able to read the margin bottom prop here. So we're gonna give it 2. Okay, so this should make the outermost wrapper, the root component, to also have the margin bottom too. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh this. I don't know why somehow my Vite server doesn't actually automatically reload. I thought it's supposed to do that automatically for me. I haven't debugged that yet. I'm working on this project exclusively on the stream, so yeah. Okay, so yep, yes, as you can see, it reads the margin bottom prop just fine. And yeah, so this is a demonstration of recursive components in Vue and how it can be helpful. So most of the time you probably don't need to do this, but if you're traversing like a dynamic structure that you don't know, it's not something that you have control over as a developer, recursive components is really tempting to, and yeah, I mean, Vue made it easy for us to kind of like register like a dynamic component here. So let's do one more thing. I don't like this repetition of state child ID here. So what we're gonna do is gonna have a new key written from the setup, I think. So we can call this a children props. Is it children object? Children data? Yeah, I don't know. Naming is hard. So children data, we're just gonna call, we're gonna do we need to do computed here? I think so. I think we do. So every time the structure change, it will automatically reload. So we're gonna do computed, and do we need to? Maybe we don't. I don't know. So let's try this. So we're gonna map children. So we're gonna get the child ID. Maybe we should name this children ID then. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like, this is children IDs, and then this is going to be children. So we're gonna map children IDs dot map child IDs. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. But we have to change a few stuff like rename, because we're passing children as the prop in the code above. So I think we need to destructure this from here. So children IDs, and you map children child ID, and then you do this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this state. So we're gonna return the state child ID. Now we get the object itself, right? So why is this red? I already have it here. Object is possibly undefined. Can it be undefined? Right. Yeah, so let's call this. That should be fine. Type unknown cannot be used as an index type. So I think this is like TypeScript stuff, I think, which is good, but I'm not really familiar with how to do, like, how do we declare that this children IDs should be an array of type string? I'm not really sure. So let's read that. So v3 view props TypeScript. My machine is slowing down, so that's not good. Props type view 3 TypeScript component props example. Okay, so I think that should be good. So we have interface product setup. So product type object as required true. So this is an object as function product and required true. So required true is the view stuff that says, you know, it has to be there. If not, it will print some error in the console. Okay, so let's try this. So we're gonna declare the type. Is it like this? I'm not. TypeScript is not my forte. So type. Sorry, I think it's type children IDs is an array string. Okay, so and then so children IDs would be based on this. It says type array as children IDs. Is that how it's done? And then if we do children IDs here, what is the type? It doesn't say. Am I doing it right? I have no idea. So product is an object of type product. Do we need to use interface? I don't think so. I think it should be okay. View 3 view props array string TypeScript. Okay, that's like a specific question in the forum, so maybe we are going to get the answer here. Right, so this is what we want. So array as prop type array. Okay, so it's a lot simpler than I thought. Okay, we don't need this, and this will be array as prop type. Okay, prop type. And this is going to be array string. Okay, so what is children IDs? What? Okay. Why is it still complaining? I'm doing it right. Okay. That is gone. Yeah, my machine is slowing down. I don't know. I don't know what else to do to kind of like have this element implicitly has an any type, because expression of that string cannot be used to index type ref root props blah blah blah. Okay, so do we then need to type the state here as well? Maybe. So we're gonna say this is component 3, and then I'm just gonna declare component 3 here, and it would be, so we will have a props of type object, and then it will have children of type array string, and it will have a type of string. And it's complaining about this one because it doesn't have a type, but I guess we can do that here. Okay, what is the problem here again? Or is it just my machine very slow to compile that TypeScript bit? Yeah, I think IntelliJ is probably too heavy for streaming. No overload matches this call. What are we doing wrong again? That is weird because everything else doesn't have the red squiggly lines anymore, and the structure is just the same. It's an array of type string. That is weird. Okay, what if we say that this is optional? Something wrong? Oh, right. So this is the structure of this inner stuff. So it should be something like this. It should be string. Sorry, it should be key. I forgot the syntax for this. And then, so this would be an interface component. Okay, and then this would be here. Is it this? Is this correct? I forgot. Okay, yeah, so it's correct. But then we have more errors here. Come on, compile. Come on, IntelliJ, you can do it. No overload matches is called. Property children is missing in type. Type string. Property children is missing in type. Type string props, but required in type component. All right, so some of this has no children, so that's why it's like that. Okay, so we're just gonna add children to it, especially the text ones. Should we just add that, or yeah, I think we can just add that. So we're just gonna add children. It's gonna not unnecessarily make our JSON structure bigger though. I think we don't need that. I think we can just make this child type optional. But then that means we have to handle it here, because by definition this is going to be so children IDs could be undefined. And I think that's what is complaining here, I guess. So, okay, so here it will be of type string. Is it still complaining? Element implicitly has any type because expression of type string cannot be used to index type. Ref at string, no index signature with a parameter of type string. I don't understand. That's okay. I think we can at least do this first. Children IDs, and then we go to app.view. We call actually because we actually declare the type of root, we can actually use it here. So okay, so this is going to be children ID now. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why this part is. So what is child ID? Child ID is a string, and then oh, I think we need state.value. Okay, so that works. Okay, so now in here, so remember that we changed the name of the prop to children IDs, and we used that to get the whole object for the children instead of just getting the children IDs, right? So this is no longer returning child ID, this is already returning the child. Right, okay, so now we can just do child.type, and then child.props, and child.children. And ID would be, oh crap. Huh. Okay, so we're gonna have to put the ID here as well, I guess. ID, child ID. And then we're gonna spread state.value child ID here. Okay, so if not familiar with spread operators and would like me to do a video on it, please comment down below. So maybe if there's enough demand, I probably do a video, like a very short video on it. It's a very helpful thing here. Okay, so I think that should work, and we don't need this page anymore. Right, so we're all set. And yeah, I think I'm happy with this version. And that's it for this stream. So the next time what we're going to do is we're going to add support for more Tailwind attributes so that you know, we can really build a component out of this. Maybe not a page yet, but maybe we can take a sample component from somewhere, maybe from the Tailwind documentation, and make sure that we can use, we can define that JSON structure. We can define that JSON structure in the in our app that reflects that component. So we're gonna take a sample component, try to declare a JSON structure for it, make sure our app supports it. That's it. Yeah, so this time I think it's a bit shorter, but I think that's a good thing. And yeah, I will